point here. We are having this mobile device. The mobile device is connected to the surrounding devices like tablet, like CCTV here, fridge here, refrigerator here, uh, dishwasher here, and the AC here. So the device is getting connected to all other devices for its control and monitoring. So this is a picture of the smart antenna, a smart home. So
Mm.
this is basically a picture of the smart home. If we talk about, and if we are going to the broader area, when we are talking about the personal area network communication systems or local area network communication systems or wide area network communication systems and connectivity between all these networks, then we are basically talking about IoT devices. IoT here stands for Internet of Things. It is a futuristic world where everything is getting connected to everything else present our surrounding. So because of this, we are able to track, we are able to control, and we are able to monitor different devices. All in all, we can say that we can communicate with all the other devices present in our surrounding. So this is the basic vision which has been seen by futuristic researcher. But there is another part of which discuss about how to tackle different problems for its commercialization, because this is just a concept, and implementation of concept requires a hardware and physical implementation of it for its commercialization. So when we are talking about the connectivity, here in July 2020, some researchers has made a survey and they have found out that we are having at least 70% usage of our mobile phone devices, 47% usage of the laptop computer, 33% usage of our PC desktop based computers, 23% usage of tablet devices. And in the surrounding environment, when we are talking about, we are using smart antennas by controlling by our mobile phone. We are using the wireless gaming consoles. We are using the smart speaker like Alexa, and we are using the smartwatch which controls or monitors our displays our heart rate and number of steps we takes per day. So some has been truly said that the data the data is a very important part, and if connectivity is a vehicle, then data is basically a fuel. And the data consumption and transmission is another important point to know to fulfill the requirement of upcoming communication systems. So a researcher has conducted some of the research during the or before the COVID period basically, and they have found out that by 2024 in the worldwide, we are going to consume approximately around gigabytes of data. This is the worldwide consumption of data. However, when we are talking about mobile traffic being present in the India by 2021, it will be around approximately 6,000 petabyte per month. So these analysis has been made before the corona period, but due to the current corona situation, we might say that it might have increased by 10 to 20% time more than the mentioned values. So we can see that how much data consumption has increased. So to fulfill these requirements, to have this much amount of data uses, we are needed a 5G technology, which is considered one of the basic solution to satisfy the requirements of current wireless communication system. So what is this 5G technology that we are going to understand in upcoming slides? So let's first start to talk about how the 5G technology has evolved. So here in 1980s, when we are having the first generation of communication system, which uses analog voice for the communication, at that time, the AMPS, that is the Advanced Mobile Phone Services, and TACS, that is the Total Access Communication Systems, these technologies has been used for the analog voice communication. Then comes the second generation, where for communication we are going to use the digital voice, and it has been achieved by using this global system for mobile communication and code division multiple access technology. By using these two technologies, it has been implemented. After that comes the third generation of communication system, which provides the mobile broadband services by using the technology WCDMA, that is Wideband Code Division Multiple Access, CDMA 2000, and Time Division Synchronous Code Division Multiple Access and WiMAX systems. These has increased the mobile broadband services in 3C. After that, in 2010, 4G came into picture, and it has basically improved the mobile broadband services to another level by making it much more better and faster as compared to the third generation of communication systems. It has basically used long-term evaluation and long-term evaluation advanced version of it, and subsequently they have also come to the conclusion that they have reached to 4.5 generation of communication after 4G, where they have achieved the very high data rate. Then after, most of the researchers have concluded that as we are moving from the first generation to the fifth generation of the communication systems, the fifth generation of communication systems is going to connect the entire world by providing the very high data rate and reliable communication systems. So this is the 5G which we are expecting by 2020, but due to the pandemic, it has not been deployed yet. But however, in some other countries it has been deployed. So how it has been researched and how the research initiative has been started for the 5G, that has been presented here. In year 2008, NASA has planned to develop the 5G communication system, and in 2010, Japan has started studying and experimenting with 5G. After that, the initial study of millimeter wave spectrum has been done in 2011, and subsequently in 2013, Japan, South Korea, China lead the research in 5G. After that, in 2015, International Telecommunication Union and International Mobile Telecommunication set up a framework for the 5G communication. Thereafter, in 2017, 5G new radio specification has been approved by the Third Generation Partnership Project Group. Subsequently, in 2018, the limited 5G network has been launched in different areas of the world like South Korea, China, UK, Sweden. And finally, in 2019, countrywide 5G has been launched in South Korea. So this is how the 5G technology has been, research has been conducted throughout the world. So why the 5G technology has become the talk of the town? Because it has some salient features which will satisfy the need of the hour. That the key feature is divided into the three major part, that is the massive internet of thing, enhanced mobile broadband services, and third is a mission critical control. When we are talking about massive internet of thing, it is going to provide a deep coverage so that the communication can reach to the challenging location also. Then in the same part, we are going to get the ultra low energy consumption, because of which the battery life of the device will increase, and the device will become ultra low complex, because of which tens of bits per second can be transmitted, and it will going to support 1 million node per kilometer square. Here nodes stands for the wireless devices which we are going to use. So in a per kilometer square, it is going to support at most 1 million of the user. And in the second feature has been divided into three major parts, that is extreme capacity. It is going to provide 10 terabits per second of per kilometer square capacity. And it is also going to support the extreme data rate, that is multi gigabits per second peak data rate and 100 of megabits user experience data rate. And third part is the deep awareness. It is going to discover and optimize the device as per the requirement. Third major feature is mission critical control, which has been subdivided into the strong security, whether it is a field of health, a government organization, and financial sector. It is going to provide a good security measure and ultra high reliability. So it will be going to provide 10 to the power minus 5 per 1 millisecond of reliability and ultra low latency. So everything will be done in the real time. There will be the latency of only 1 millisecond. And Extreme user mobility. So if we are going to travel through whether the bullet train, even though we are going to able to connect to the land devices, even though when we are in bullet train also. So these are the key feature we are having in the 5G technology, because of which it is being used in most of the researchers are working in this field. So this 5G technology has been divided into different frequency band by the International Telecommunication Union and this Federal Communication Commission. This is basically the US based regulating authority, and OFCOM is the Office of Communication. This is UK based regulating authority. These all different regulating authority of communication system has divided the 5G communication system into these different bands. However, if we talk about the overall bifurcation in the 5G communication system, so we are having the band less than 6 gigahertz, which will come into the 5G new radio sub 6 gigahertz frequency band, and another band will come from 24 gigahertz to 100 gigahertz, which will come into the 5G new radio millimeter wave band. So these are the two major segments of band which 5G is going to use. But here currently in India, we are going to deploy the system based on the sub 6 gigahertz frequency band 5G technology. So these different devices which are using the 5G technology is going to use different kind of antennas in the base station, in the handheld devices, in the IoT devices, in the autonomous vehicle. So when we are talking about wireless devices around us, we have already seen we are having some dongles, we are having Wi-Fi devices, we are having router or access point, we are having mobile devices, we are having tablet, we are having laptop. These all wireless devices we have already seen, which is surrounding us. So when we are going to use this 5G technology, which is going to provide a very high data rate, good reliability, how we are going to implement this concept of 5G into a real-time systems. So for implementing the concept into real-time systems, we need a technology that is called MIMO technology. So this MIMO technology is going to provide the feature of 5G technology in a hardware form so that it can be deployed in a system and used in the commercial purpose. So when we are talking about the MIMO technology, we'll start with a brief history of MIMO technology. It has started very early, long back in 1970, and then in 1984 and 1986, in the Bell Laboratory, Jack Winter and Jack Sells has performed beamforming application, and after that they have published several papers based on it. Subsequently, Professor Arukuswamy Polras and Thomas Kelath has proposed the concept of spatial multiplexing, which has been considered the backbone of the MIMO technology. And this has been done in 1993, and in the following year, in 1994, they have received the US patent for their concept of spatial multiplexing used in the MIMO systems. However, although the concept has been provided by this group, but it fell to Bell Lab to be the first one to demonstrate the laboratory prototype of this spatial multiplexing for implementing the MIMO technology in the system. So what is this MIMO? MIMO stands for Multiple Input, Multiple Output Antenna Technology Based System. It is basically a smart antenna technology. It uses multiple antennas both at the transmitter and the receiver side. Now, if you are comparing the 5G technology, which is going to use the MIMO technology in its system, it is because of use of this MIMO technology, it is going to provide the download speed of 1 to 10 gigabits per second and latency of 1 millisecond as compared to its predecessor, that is the 3G and 4G technology. Now, how the MIMO system has evolved. So it has started with the conventional systems where we are having single input and single output system, and subsequently it has reached to multiple input and multiple output systems where we are having more than one antennas. In single input, single output system, we are having the single antenna used for transmission and reception. So why this MIMO technology is basically required? So because it minimizes error, it optimizes data speed, it offers superior data rate, range and reliability, without requiring additional bandwidth and transmitted power. And it is considered to be able to cope up better with many high demand applications, whether it is IoT based systems we are having, or we are having virtual reality experience based systems, or we are having HD video streaming. So there are different techniques of achieving this high data rate in a signal domain, where we can use MIMO OFDM, multi-user MIMO, massive MIMO, carrier aggregation. These all technology has been used in the signal domain. By coding we can achieve it. However, when we talk about techniques for achieving high data rate in the RF domain, at that time we are going to achieve the MIMO performance or high data rate performance in the systems by using different diversity techniques in the antenna systems. So here we are talking about spatial diversity, polarization diversity, pattern diversity. So if you'll see here the spatial diversity, the antenna has been placed space apart that is more than lambda. And here the polarization diversity, when the direction of polarization of these two antennas are different, even though the distance between the antenna is less, still it is going to provide a reasonably good performance. And in the third case, when again the distance between two antenna element is less than lambda we are having, because of the pattern diversity, it is going to provide a desirable performance. So we can use diversity property in the antenna systems, either combination of it we can use, or we can use it one at a time. So when we are discussing about antennas, at that time we'll talk about return loss, gain, efficiency, radiation pattern. But when we are going to talk about MIMO antenna characteristic, at that time we need some additional parameter, that is isolation, envelope correlation coefficient, diversity gain, channel capacity loss, and diversity characteristics. So what are the different issues we face while we are implementing MIMO antenna for the planar portable devices? So overall size of the MIMO antenna is one of the first concern we are having. Second is increasing number of antenna element in the MIMO system is another concern. Then after, high coupling between closely spaced antenna is another issue we are having. The presence of high surface current at the lower frequency is the next problem we are having. And the one last problem, which is the incorporation of diversity performance in the MIMO antenna when we are using a small form factor devices like dongle. So in the literature, different technologies has been used for designing the MIMO antenna. That is the dielectric resonator antenna, that is preferably used at the millimeter wave frequencies, laser direct structuring method. All of our mobile systems are having the antenna designed by laser direct structuring. So that is basically used at the lower frequencies, 3D printing methods, multi-layer techniques, and planar antennas. So when we are talking about antenna design for the small form factor devices or planar devices, handheld devices, at that time the coupling between antenna is become the major issue. So for tackling these coupling issues, in the literature, different methods has been reported. First one is increasing spacing. Second is incorporating orientational, spatial, or polarization diversity, using different kind of decoupling and matching circuits, placing different kind of reflectors and metamaterial structures between antennas, using neutralization line and defected ground structures. Basically, neutralization line and defected ground structures are frequency dependent. So here again, we are having the limitation. Although this provide a very high isolation between antennas. And next is independent ground plane. And the final is using different parasitic structures. So antenna type, which we are going to look at in this presentation, it is basically divided based upon its operating frequencies. So when we are talking about operating frequencies, we are going to look for the antennas, which are UWB antennas, NOST UWB antennas, multiband and dual band antennas, reconfigurable antennas, and millimeter wave antennas. When we are talking about antenna type based upon the deployment, like where it is going to be used. So basically, based on that, we are having antennas for dongle applications, for access point applications, for handle devices, and for base station applications. So in the coming sessions, the topics which we are going to look at it is UWB antenna design. In the first section, we are going to discuss about it. In the second section, we are going to discuss about a single and dual notch band UWB MIMO antennas. In the third section, we are going to discuss about UWB MIMO antenna array for access point applications. In the fourth session, we are going to discuss about dual band MIMO antennas. Fifth section, reconfigurable MIMO antennas. Sixth section, millimeter wave antenna. And seventh section, massive MIMO antennas. And we are just basing to touch upon the millimeter wave antenna and massive MIMO antenna. And basically, we are going to look at extensively from section 1 to section 5. So let's start with the section 1. Here we are going to discuss about UWB MIMO antenna design. So if you are looking at the first design, which has been presented by Liu et al. So here we can see that we are having the rectangular patch antenna, and for achieving isolation, here one stub has been used here and next stub has been used here. These steps are basically having the frequency dependent stubs are these. So these are basically the lambda by 4 length we are having here and here, which is going to provide a high isolation over the band of the frequencies. And this next structure is basically presented by Liu et al. And here we can see that this antenna is going to provide the UWB performance because of this slot which has been placed at the back of the both the antennas. This slot is going to provide the UWB bandwidth. UWB here stands for ultra wide band. This is basically the band proposed by Federal Communication Commission. Federal Communication Commission is a US based communication regulatory authority there, and they have announced that this UWB band from 3.1 to 10.6 gigahertz is basically used for the personal area network communication systems because they are unlicensed. They cannot be used in a large area. It can be only used within the building or within the home environment, so that because it can use the profit of the wide bandwidth so that it can transmit and receive the large amount of data because of the available bandwidth it is having. So this wide band has been achieved in the second structure by using these two stubs. And for improving the isolation between antenna, this T type of slot has been placed between antenna. So here we can see that isolation is less than minus 20 dB we are having, and resonance has been achieved, that is less than minus 10 dB over the operating bandwidth. And here if you look at the size of the antenna, it is very, very small, that is 26 mm by 22 mm. Okay. Now this is the next structure. This is the UWB MIMO antenna for portable devices. Here if you look at, for improving the isolation between antennas, the stub has been used here. By putting this stub, we can see that here we were having coupling from this antenna to this antenna, but by placing this stub here, we are not having any coupling. So the coupling has been reduced in this structure. And moreover, this antenna placement, if you look at, these are the orthogonal antennas. So it provides the polarization diversity. And this work has been already published in this paper. Most of the work which I'm presenting here, it is my PhD work which I have done in IIT Delhi. So this is the second work here. UWB MIMO antenna has been presented for USB dongle application. Here we can see that the size of the antenna is very small, that is 14 by 39 mm, and it covers the entire bandwidth. So this wide bandwidth can be used for this dongle application. Now these are the radiation pattern of the antennas in 3 different planes. The drawback with this kind of small design is that the gain of the antenna is low at the lower band of the frequencies. That is due to the very small size of the antennas. The size reduction will lead to this kind of low gain at the lower frequencies. Now in section 2, we are going to discuss about single and dual band notched UWB MIMO antenna design. As we have already discussed, UWB systems or UWB antennas are UWB antenna based systems are basically used in a personal area network communication system. So in the personal area network communication system, we are already having 2 existing wireless standards. Those are Wi-Fi and WiMAX. Wi-Fi operates at 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. WiMAX operates at around 3 to 3.3 and 5 to 5.5 or 5.7 or 5.8 gigahertz. So when we are using these 2 devices in the personal environment or personal area network based communication system. At that time, because they are operating at the same frequencies, so, or you can say that in the UWA band, those frequency will come. Because of those frequencies, sometimes they are going to interfere with each other's performance. So what we have to do is, as Wi-Fi and WiMAX are older standards which we are using for the personal area network communication systems, and UWE is a newer standard which provides us much more data rate, but it is basically used in the same personal area network communication system. So we need a interference free UWB communication. For that, what we have to do is we have to incorporate the notch band at the Wi-Fi and WiMAX frequencies. So here the first design antenna has been presented. This has been reported by L. Kang et al. So here we see that the antenna has been presented here, and that the T type of structure has been used for improving the isolation between the antenna elements. And here the slot in the ground plane, this L type of slot which you can see in the ground plane, that is providing us the notch band performance. And the slot length is approximately around the lambda by 4 at the frequency around 5.5 gigahertz, because of which these slots are acting as a resonator at that frequency, because of which the antenna is not radiating at that frequency, or neither it is transmitting the signal at that frequency, nor it is receiving the signal at this frequency. So we are talking about this frequency, this notch band frequencies, where in the UWB spectrum, we are going to reject this frequency, so the interference can be eliminated in the UWB communication system. Similarly, here the 4 antenna element array configuration has been shown, and here if we are looking at this slot has been made in the antenna structure. Because of this slot, we are going to get here the notch band performance, and for improving the isolation, these arrow kind of structure has been made at the ground plane side, because of which the coupling has improved over the band of the frequencies when we are using the 4 antenna element. This is the single notch band UWB MIMO antenna design we are having, and this is the work which I have done. Here, for achieving the notch band, we can see that when we are having no slot here, horizontal slot, additional horizontal slot, we are having no notch band in the S parameter. But as soon as we put this horizontal slot, we are getting this notch. And this notch is proportional to the total length of this slot. And if we are going to reduce the length of this slot, this notch is going to shift. So we can make this notch present at any point wherever we want. We can shift it by changing the length of the total slot. And here in this session, surface current distribution at 5.5 gigahertz, we can see that because the notch is at 5.5 gigahertz, so we are looking at the current at the 5.5 gigahertz. Here we can see that when the slot has been made, the concentration of the current is basically increasing in this area. So basically, the circuit is resonating at 5.5 gigahertz and trapping the signal in the antenna itself. It is not allowing signal to radiate, because of which the notch band is achieved at the frequency 5.5 gigahertz. However, if we look at this structure where we are having no notch, the entire signal which is being fed to the antenna, it is going to get radiated. So this antenna is going to receive and transmit the signal throughout the band of the frequencies, this black curve, and this antenna, where we are having the horizontal slot, the red curve, it is going to reject the frequency at this 5.5 gigahertz. And this is the complete structure we are having. We have placed the antenna mentioned in the last section, and we have made a 2x2 configuration of it for the MIMO application. And for improving the isolation, we have used the protruded ground plane and the rectangular slot in the ground plane. By incorporating these two structures, we have improved the isolation at the higher band to around minus 20 dB. However, at the lower band, reducing isolation or improving the isolation or reducing the coupling is very, very difficult, because there are surface current present at the lower frequencies, which is very difficult to eliminate when we are having the common ground plane in the circuit. This work has been also reported in this paper. And then we are having this radiation pattern of the antenna. Here, when we have done the analysis of this length, the additional length which we have used for integrating the other circuits like amplifier or other necessary filters or uh, oscillators, for incorporating all those circuits, this additional ground plane has been added and the effect of ground plane has also been checked. So here we have found out that by changing the length of the ground plane, we are not having any effect on its S parameters. So it antenna is independent of the length of the ground plane. And these are the different performance parameter of the MIMO antenna, which we have talked about initially. First one is the envelope correlation coefficient. So envelope correlation coefficient can be calculated from the far field radiation pattern or the field pattern. And another method to calculate the envelope correlation coefficient is by using S parameter. This S parameter based method is quite approximate method and it gives close to the actual results, but this one is very close to the actual results. This is much more accurate ECC information this formula will provide. That is based on the far field or electric field based calculation of ECC. From this ECC, we can calculate the diversity gain by using this formula. So diversity gain for the two antenna element case should be approximately 10 dB, and which has been achieved here. And ECC should be as less as possible, because what we want is ECC gives the information about how much the antennas are correlated in the far field, means how much the radiation pattern of the antennas are correlated in the far field. So that information is basically provided by the ECC, because of which we will know that whether the coupling will take place in the far field or not. And here, if we look at the gain and efficiency parameter, we'll see that at the notch band, we are having a dip. It means at 5.5 gigahertz or around 5.5 gigahertz or 5.87 gigahertz, here we are going to get a very high rejection of frequency. Now, after that, we are going to discuss about some dual band notch UWB MIMO antenna design. So first design has been reported by Lee et al. So this is a very compact structure we are having, that is 2.29 mm by 12 mm. This total size is 12. Here, from here to here we are having 12 mm around, and from here to here we are having 29 mm. So in this structure, for achieving the dual notch band performance, we can see that this is the UWB spectrum from 3 gigahertz to 10.6 gigahertz, and here in between at this frequency and at this frequency we are achieving the notch. So these nodes are basically rejecting the frequencies at around 3.3 gigahertz and 5.5 gigahertz, that is for in the WiMAX band basically. So it will provide the interference free communication between the UWB systems. And here, these two notch band has been achieved by incorporating the slot in the radiating structure and using the metal strip, this metal strip at the ground plane of the antenna. So by incorporating these two, first one is a slot in the radiator, and second one is a metal strip at the ground plane. By incorporating these two, we have achieved these two different notches. Now here in the second structure, where again we have achieved the dual notch band characteristic in the UWB antenna. This paper has been by Lee and et al. It has been presented that we are having a circular antenna, and here in the antenna, the rectangular slot has been cut. Because of this rectangular slot, the rectangular slot is radiating at frequency around 5.5 or 8 gigahertz, 5.8 gigahertz around, and it is providing the notch at that frequencies. And the notch at lower frequency at around 3.5 gigahertz is achieved by the structure or the filter which has been placed at the feed line. So this filter basically resonates at that frequency at 3.8 gigahertz and allows signal to get absorbed at that frequency 3.8 gigahertz. Here itself do not allow antenna to radiate at that frequency. So in this circuit, we can see that antenna are having independent ground plane, and at the same time, this stub has been used for improving the isolation between the antenna. So it is having the very high isolation, less than minus 20 dB over the band of the frequency. Now here we have presented another design. In this design, this is the single antenna we are having. The size of the antenna is very small. 14 mm by 15 mm, and then it has been placed in a 2 by 2 configuration. And then we have used the common ground plane conditions, and we have added the extra ground plane for incorporating different circuits in it. So we are looking at the performance of the S parameter. It is less than minus 10 dB for S11 and less than minus 15 dB at the higher frequencies and less than minus 10 dB at the lower frequencies. The isolation has been achieved. Now, here for achieving the notch band at 3.8 and 5 gigahertz, we have incorporated two stubs. First stub, we have used this longer stub at both the antenna elements provides the notch band at 3.8 gigahertz. And then we have incorporated another stub, that is the shorter stub here. This stub provides the notch band at higher frequency. So the longer stub is basically the lambda by 4 at 3.8 gigahertz, and shorter stub is lambda by 4 at 5 gigahertz. And these provided notch band at these desired frequencies. And here if you look at the isolation is less than minus 20 dB at the higher frequency band. However, at lower frequency band, it is less than minus 10. In the lower frequency band, around 2 gigahertz or less than 2 gigahertz, means let's say 600 megahertz or 1 gigahertz, achieving the isolation less than minus 10 dB is also acceptable for most of the antenna design when the size of the antenna is very small. So antenna has been fabricated, and here surface current analysis shows that antenna is resonating at that stub when we are looking at its surface current. So it means the stub is acting as a resonator and not allowing the current to radiate at that frequency. And so this work has been reported in this paper. And this is the radiation pattern of the antenna we are having in 2D and 3D. These are the different performance like ECC, efficiency, and gain of the antenna. Here again, if you see at the notch band, we are having reduction in gain and efficiency both. So it is eliminating the frequencies at that frequency band, notch frequency band. These are the notch we are having. In this notch band, the gain has reduced to minus 4 and here minus 8. Now, as we already know, as we are increasing number of antenna element, we are going to increase the performance of the antenna element. So the same antenna element which we have discussed in the last session, we are going to use here for getting the 4x4 configuration because we want to improve the data rate and reliability of the system. So here, as soon as we are placing the 4 antenna element, we have checked that the coupling has reduced to minus 7 dB here at the lower band. And even though we have placed some decoupling circuit, still the coupling has not improved much. So it has small improvement has been found out. Here we are having minus 7, here we are having approximately minus 8.5. So small improvement has been in the coupling has been observed by placing this structure which is radiating or which is resonating at that frequency and not allowing the current to transmit from this antenna to this antenna or this antenna to other antenna. So this antenna is again fabricated and it has been measured and tested, and this work has been reported in this paper. These are the different other performance of the antennas we are having. In the section 3, we are going to discuss about UWB MIMO antenna array design for access point or router applications. So here we are looking at the UWB MIMO antenna for access point application. This work has been reported in this paper. Salim and et al. Has presented that when we are having 8 antenna elements here, what they have done is they have used a decoupling circuit in between these two antennas. This is the decoupling circuit. In between these two antennas, this is the decoupling circuit. In between these two and these or this antenna, this is the decoupling circuit. So all the antennas are using different type of decoupling circuit for improving the isolation between the antenna elements, because this is the basic requirement of MIMO antenna when we are talking about the compact planar antennas. And all the antenna discussed here are compact and planar structure based antennas we are having. So if this antenna, this antenna structure, you are going to use this antenna structure to have the number of antenna elements. If you are going to increase in this structure from 8 antennas to 16 antennas or 20 antennas, then what you have to do? Basically, you have to use another set of decoupling structure so that you can reduce the coupling between antenna element. So increasing number of antenna element in this kind of structure will become very difficult, because every time you are going to increase number of antenna element, you have to use different kind of decoupling circuit. So this structure reports 8 by 8 antenna elements for the access point application, and it shows a very good performance in terms of its return loss and the coupling. The coupling is less than minus 15 dB for all the antenna elements, whether the coupling we are considering from this antenna to this antenna, this to this to this, or any other antenna. It is less than minus 15 dB. Now, what we are planning to do is we are planning to design a UWB antenna array by using this single antenna. The size of the antenna is very small, that is 18 mm by 18 mm. And here we can see that this single antenna is providing the bandwidth of 3 gigahertz to 16 gigahertz. So it is covering a very wide bandwidth. Now in this antenna, when we are placing the single antenna in mentioned in above last session, if we are going to place it in an orthogonal configuration and in a close proximity within the device, then we can see that its S parameter is still good. We are having the return loss less than minus 10 dB, and we are having coupling less than minus 20 dB in most of the frequency band, and coupling at the lower frequencies less than minus 10 dB. So this is an antenna which has been fabricated. It is showing the very good performance in terms of its S parameter, radiation pattern, and other parameters, other MIMO parameters. So here, when we are talking about another MIMO parameter, that is the capacity loss. So capacity loss is basically calculated with this formula. And here we need information about the S parameter. From this S parameter information, we will get this P11 and P22 and P12 and P21 values. And by solving this matrix, we are going to get this capacity loss. For the MIMO antenna array, the capacity loss should be less than 0.4 bits per second per hertz, which has been achieved for this antenna. And as we already know, the ECC should be as close to zero as possible. We want minimum correlation between the antennas. Now, next important thing which we have discussed here is the group delay. Now here we are having a very wideband antenna, that is from 13 gigahertz of bandwidth of antenna we are having. So when we are having this much wide bandwidth, at that time we have to look for the group delay parameter also, because it gives information about the dispersion of the signals when the signal is transmitted between these kind of antennas. So we have checked with two antennas in a phase by phase and side by side conditions, and we have found out that the group delay is in nanosecond and very small group delay has been observed. So this antenna do not show much of the diffraction dispersion in the current with the current bandwidth for this application. Now the same antenna, same single element antenna, we have again used for 8 by 8 configuration. So when we are talking about MIMO antenna, here we are having 8 element in the transmitter side and 8 element at the receiver side. That's why we are saying 8 by 8. So in 8 by 8 configuration of MIMO antenna, we are having 8 antenna element, and here we can see the performance of antenna element. We have not changed anything. We have just placed the antenna element in orthogonal configuration at close proximity to each other. And we have found out that it is showing the good return loss over the band of the frequencies, and the isolation is less than minus 15 dB over the band of the frequencies, and isolation at the lower band is less than minus 10 dB. So even though we have doubled the number of antenna element, still it is showing the good performance, and we need not to use any kind of decoupling circuit in this structure. And so most importantly, if we are right now we are talking about 8 by 8 configuration, we can use this same design for incorporating 16 by 16 configuration or 50 by 50 configuration by placing the antenna element in orthogonal configuration, so that we can exploit the property of diversity, that is basically the polarization diversity, and we will get the more number of antenna element, which will improve the bandwidth and the reliability of the system. In the next section, we are going to discuss about the dual band and multi-band MIMO antenna design. So here we are looking at the 2D MIMO antenna design for dongle application. This antenna here we have presented, the antenna is having the very small size. If you're looking at the structure of the antenna, we are having the size of 30 mm by 14.5 mm. If you're just looking at the antenna size, except not looking at the ground plane. So this structure of the antenna is having the total size of 14.5 mm to 30 mm. Because here, for achieving the isolation between antennas, they have used the neutralization line. That is, Xu and et al. Has used the neutralization line, and as we have already discussed, the neutralization line is frequency dependent. It is going to provide a very high isolation between antenna elements, but only at one frequency. So here we can see that at 2400 megahertz, that is 2.4 gigahertz, we are achieving the isolation more than minus 20 dB. That is a very good number when we are talking about at 2.4 gigahertz frequency band. Now, as the last antenna is not having the dual band performance, here the dual band MIMO antenna has been presented for the dongle application, but here it is having the three-dimensional structure. So here it is having the additional this width, that is 2.4 gigahertz in the x-axis. If we are looking at, if x-axis is this, we are having 2.4 extra height. The size of this dongle is very small. If you look at, this is 15 mm by 47 mm, and if you are looking at the only this antenna size, that is approximately around 10 by 15 mm if you are looking at it. So that is a very small antenna for the dongle application. You can here compare the top and bottom size of the antenna, and this antenna structure provides a very high isolation at the higher band, and the isolation of around minus 18 dB at 2.4 gigahertz. So antenna is basically operating at 2.4 gigahertz and 5.5 gigahertz. So important point to notice here is that when you are talking about isolation, it is very easy to achieve high isolation at the higher band. However, when you're looking at the lower band, achieving a high isolation is quite difficult. So that's why in most of the current researchers are trying to switch from the lower band 5G to the millimeter wave 5G, because achieving the high isolation in between MIMO antennas at the higher frequencies is very easy as compared to the achieving isolation at the lower frequency band. Now here, Sarma and et al. Has presented a multi-band MIMO antenna design for access point or router application. Here the size of the antenna is quite large, that is 150 mm by 150 mm. So here the antennas are using the spatial diversity. The distance between the two antenna element is very large, because of which it is providing the very high isolation, and isolation has not even presented here. Now this structure uses two sets of antennas, that is antenna 1 and antenna 2, antenna 3 and 4. Antenna 1 and 2 are same antenna which has been placed two opposite ends, and antenna 4 and 3 are again two sets of antenna, similar antenna which is placed in opposite directions. So isolation can be improved, and it is operating in the multiple band. This antenna can be used for router applications, which has been mentioned in this paper. Now again, another set of dual band antenna has been reported for the handheld devices. Here, if you're looking at in this structure, for achieving isolation at the lower band and the higher band, the authors that is Sun et al. Has reported that high isolation can be achieved at the higher band by using this stub in the both side of the antenna. And at the lower frequency band, isolation can be improved by using this spiral resonator in between antennas. Then after, the dual band MIMO antenna design for the tablet or mobile phone has been presented here. Total 8 antennas has been placed here, and here again the spatial diversity has been used. And here and this is the antenna structure we are having. This antenna has been placed in these different corners and in between here. And here they have made the placement of antenna in such a way that the radiation is in different direction, because of which the coupling is less. Now this is again, we are having little bit height we are having here. It is not planar structure. So this is the only drawback we are having here. And This is the dual operating band of it, that is 2.4 gigahertz and 5.1 gigahertz we are having. Again, if you'll see here, notice here the coupling at the lower band, that is S21, is quite high, although it is acceptable less than minus 10 dB at 2.4 gigahertz. Now, this is another paper that presents the dual band MIMO antenna design for dongle application. And here, by putting the slots in this structure, we are achieving the dual band performance. And by using this inverted taper slot, we are going to achieve the high isolation. And here, if you'll see that at the lower band and higher band, we are going to achieve very high isolation. And this work has been reported in this paper. Now, these are the different characteristics we are having for this antenna. And this is the next design, that is 2.4 to 5 gigahertz dual band MIMO antenna for handheld devices. Now, how we have achieved the dual band performance for this structure? If you're looking at the dual band structure, here we are having two parameters, parameter 1 and parameter 2. Parameter 1 is in top side and parameter 2 is in back side. Parameter 2 is responsible for, this is the length of the parameter 2 is large, so it is responsible for lower frequencies, and parameter 1 is responsible for higher frequency. So this is providing 2.4 gigahertz, this is providing 5 gigahertz of frequency. So now again, if you are looking at the parametric variation of it, you can see that if we are changing the parameter 1, we are changing the higher band of the frequencies. And when we are changing this band, this isolation also changes. Similarly, when we are changing the parameter 2, the lower frequency band shifts. At the same time, the isolation also decreases, or it deteriorates. So it is very, very tricky in case of dual band antennas to achieve high isolation and good resonance. So the designer has to take care of both the things, that they have to achieve the good resonance and high isolation at the same time. So this is the work which has been reported in this paper. These are the different radiation pattern of the antenna. Now next section is reconfigurable MIMO antenna design we are having. Here, this is the dual band reconfigurable MIMO antenna design which has been presented here. Total number of switches we are having, 4 switch we are having here, and 4 ports we are having. And this is antenna 1, this is antenna 2, this is antenna 3, and this is antenna 4. So antenna 3 and 4 has been fed by these coaxial cables, and antenna 1 and 2 has been fed by these connectors. So when all the 4 switches are off, the antenna port 1 and 2 are active at 2.45 gigahertz, and port 3 and 4 are active at 5.5 gigahertz. When all the switches are on, at that time, both port 1 and 2, port 3 and 4 are operating at 5.5 gigahertz. So it means that when the switches are off, antenna is operating in the dual band, and when switches are on, all the ports are operating at same frequency, single frequency. So this is the frequency reconfiguration has been presented for MIMO antenna. Now, in the last paper, we have discussed about switching antennas, where we are having two different states, whether the switch is on and off. So here in this reconfigurable antenna, the varactor diode has been used. So the switches are continuously varying its capacitance by changing its voltage. So as you are varying your voltage, corresponding to that, the capacitance will change. And as you are changing your capacitance, the resonator, which is having the LC component, because these are the distributed elements having inductive and capacitive effect, those inductor and capacitors are forming making a resonator, and that resonator is resonating at particular frequency, and the frequency of operation will be F equals to 1 upon 2 pi under root LC. So if you are changing the C, the frequency, capacitance, if you are going to change the capacitance, the frequency will change. So frequency is shifting continuously. So we can get frequency reconfiguration by using the varactor diode, and this work has been reported in this paper reported by Hussain et al. And here we are achieving the continuous frequency reconfiguration. Now this work has been done by me during my PhD. So here we are having the two antenna, and when the diodes are on, at the time the antenna is operating at 2.35 and 5 gigahertz. When diodes are off, at that time antenna is operating at 3.4 and 5 gigahertz. So basically the lower operating band is changing, switching. However, higher operating band will remain in the same position. This work is basically reported in this paper. So here we can see that if you are changing the different parameter, the lower frequency band is very, very sensitive. So region of the lower frequency band is very, very sensitive is because there is a, as we are having the very small size of the antenna, the size of the antenna is very small. If you are look at it, that is 24 mm by 24 mm. When the size of the antenna become very, very small, there is a condition which is called the Chu condition, the Chu radius condition. If the size of the antenna is much more smaller than the radius condition, then it the resonance of the antenna will become very, very dependent on the all other parameter of the antenna. So that has been verified by using this parametric analysis, that if you are changing the different parameter of the antenna, the lower frequency band is going to change. So it has been verified here also. So finally, the antenna has been fabricated, and here we can see that when diode were on, it is switching at around 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. When diode is off, at that time it is operating at 3.5 and 5 gigahertz. These are the radiation pattern of the antenna at 2.4 and 5 gigahertz when the diodes were on, and then these are the radiation pattern of the antenna at 3.5 and 5 gigahertz when both the diode D1 and D2 are off. These are the different uh, other parameters of the antennas. Now in the section C, we are going to discuss about millimeter wave MIMO antennas. So here in this paper presented by Young et al., they have designed a dipole antenna. In this dipole antenna, here they are going to get a very high bandwidth from 25 gigahertz to 31 gigahertz, and gain of the antenna is quite high. And because of this dipole structure, the antenna is radiating in this direction, and the front to back ratio of the antenna is very, very good. Because of this directivity of the antenna, if we are going to use this stack of several antennas, if we are going to increase the number of antenna elements and going to form an array of it, so it can be used for beamforming application for massive MIMO transceiver application in the 5G millimeter wave communication. So this work has been thoroughly studied in this paper. Now subsequently, if here we are talking about the planar antennas where we are having the radiation in the broadside direction, and for increasing the radiation in the broadside direction, we have placed a metal plate at the back of the antenna. So by placing the metal plate at the back of the antenna, the radiation is directed in the front direction. And this kind of antennas is also very useful because it provides a very good rejection in the out of band application. So if we are basically looking at the radiation performance of the antenna in millimeter wave frequencies, you are looking at most of the papers are reporting on the frequency band only, that is 25 to 31, in which it is operating. They will not mention what happens after this or beyond this. So it is very important that antenna should itself reject all the frequencies lesser and all the frequencies less than this operating frequencies and higher than operating frequencies, so that the noise will be less in the system. So this has been achieved by this structure here, and if we are going to use multiple number of these antennas as a transmitter, it can be used for massive MIMO application. Now in the next section, we are going to discuss about the massive MIMO antenna design. So the first massive MIMO testing has been done by the Lund University. So they have placed this test bed, and they have placed the hundred of antennas here, and they have tested the performance of the MIMO antenna, that whether it is providing that amount of data rate which is being promised by 5G or not, and whether the system is reliable or not, what is the latency of it. So they have successfully tested it in the Lund University by making this test bed, and this is the first test that has been done in the entire world by this Lund University. Thereafter there are different tests has been done, and here we can see that this is one type of transmitter antennas where it has been used 64 antenna elements, and as you can see that all the 64 antenna elements are having these 64 ports. So these will be connecting to different set of the devices for doing the signal analysis after receiving the signal. So massive MIMO basically uses a set of number of antennas, and one of the advantage of this massive MIMO is that it can use hundred of thousands of antennas, but the only thing is that it can be implemented only in transmitter side, that is the base station in the current scenario when we are talking about mobile communication. So this single base station can communicate with number of users, hundred of users of or 10,000 of user at a particular geographic cell when we are talking about wireless communication system. So this is the basic advantage of massive MIMO. So massive MIMO is going to basically implement it in transmitter side. However, in the portable devices, which are the handheld devices, we are still going to use a MIMO antenna, either 2 element, 4 element, 6 element, or 10 element. So what is the current state of 5G in India? If we'll talk about this, so Airtel has successfully demonstrated the 5G capacity of its 5G capacity in the Hyderabad, and they have verified that they are going to get the download speed of 250 megabits per second and upload speed of 60 megabits per second, which is quite good as compared to the today's 4G communication system which Airtel provides. And Jio has also announced that in by the end of the 2021, before December, they are going to launch 5G commercially. And before being those all things, already in India, we are having the different mobile phones supporting the 5G communication system. And when we are talking about the worldwide, so these are the 10 different countries which are already using the 5G communication system. So India has long way to go still. So we are hoping that by the end of this year, we are going to get the 5G communication system deployed in India also. And by the next year, in the complete country, we are going to have it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. There are some questions which I am taking.
Sure, sir.
Yeah, the first question is by Mr. SK Sultan that, ma'am, please explain the latency.
Okay. Latency is basically it gives the information about real-time communication. Like when when we are communicating through our internet, like we are communicating through we are, like we are communicating in the Meet app. So sometimes what happens, I am talking at around, let's say, 4 p.m., but it reaches to you after 4 p.m. 30 seconds. So 30 second is a latency, means how much late the signal gets when it is being delivered and when it reaches to the receiver. So that is the latency basically. So as soon as I say and you listen to it, that is called the real time. And if there is a delay in it, when I have said it and when you have listened it, so it is called the latency.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. The next question is by SJ Nandekalkar. DG and TARC is calculated from S parameters or far field?
Basically, far field, you have to calculate ECC by using the far fields. Whether you are taking the far field parameter or radiation pattern parameters, if you are calculating the envelope correlation coefficient by using the far field parameter, at that time you are going to get much more accurate performance as compared to calculating the ECC, envelope correlation coefficient, by using S parameter. Once you have got envelope correlation coefficient parameter, the DG, that is the diversity gain, you can determine from the ECC, because diversity gain is equals to 10 times under root of 1 minus ECC square. Hello.
Sorry, my mic was muted.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you initial design of any antenna before making any array or MIMO arrangement?
Okay. Uh, Before designing an antenna, first of all, you have to think about where you are going to use that antenna. So as we have discussed in the topic itself, that antennas are basically application specific. So in which application you are going to use it, based on that, you have to start designing it. So first of all, you can start from the lambda by 4 monopole antenna. If we are going to design a monopole antenna, because there are different types of antennas, you can use any kind of antennas, Vivaldi antenna, monopole antenna. These are, I'm talking about the planar antennas. Even planar Yaki Uda antennas are there. So first you have to look for the application what is the for which application you are using, whether you are using for dongle application, whether you are using for access point application, or whether you are using for laptop or tablet devices. So based on that, you have to start to design your antennas.
Okay, next question is there. What is the thumb rule used to design the neutralization line for isolation?
Okay, thumb rule is basically when you are going to design an neutralization line. Neutralization line is basically a resonating structure at a particular frequency. So if you are operating your device in the mentioned paper, which is operating at 2.4 gigahertz, you have to design the neutralization line which is resonating at the same frequency. So what will happen? The signal which is radiating or signal which is coupling from one antenna to the next antenna, it is instead of going directly to the other antenna, it is going to go through that resonator. And that resonator is basically going to trap that energy to itself instead of allowing it to transmit from one antenna to next antenna. So it is basically needs to be designed at the same frequency in which frequency the antenna has been designed.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, can we use hexagonal shape substrate instead of rectangular shape and design 6x6 MIMO antenna?
Okay, hexagonal shaped substrate.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure, that can be done. That has already been implemented also. But I have seen one paper where they have used the 6 antenna elements placed in the horizontal and vertical 3-dimensional structure, and they are using the MIMO antenna for transmitter side. That is for transmitter side basically because it is 3D and lacking more lot of space. It can be done.
Okay, the next question is, S11 and S12 curves are not obtained to be same in orthogonal placement of antennas. Why?
Sorry, I'm not getting the question.
S11 and S12 curves are
Hmm.
not obtained to be in the same orthogonal placement of antennas.
Uh, Same or means what they are saying. I'm not able to understand what is the means. Same
Mm,
orthogonal placement of antenna means what?
okay, that I think the question is incomplete. Okay, next. Next question, how to connect MIMO antenna to the IoT devices?
Okay, so IoT devices is basically we are having cloud-based computing, that is based on the cloud-based computing where everything surrounding us, whether it is our laptop, mobile phone, fridge, AC, or everything is going to get connected to the cloud. So when we are going to connect to the cloud, we are going to transmit and receive a large amount of data. We have to continuously transmit and receive because we have to stay connected there. Like in CCTV, or that if we are going to control or monitor the CCTV, we have to continuously remain connected to the system. Then only we can control or monitor it. So similarly in IoT, when we are controlling and monitoring one device or another by another device, at that time you have to connect it through cloud. So you have to continuously transmit and receive data. So again, the system, wireless system which you are going to use, there you have to implement the MIMO antennas. So MIMO antenna is going to provide the reliability and the high data rate performance for achieving that.
Okay,
So at
thank you. Yeah, the next question is, kindly throw some light on beamforming after designing MIMO.
okay, beam forming is basically the massive MIMO concept when they are going to, because beam forming is required at the transmitter side where you want to have a certain beam in a particular area only. We do not want to shift your beam. So beamforming is basically the part of massive MIMO. Here we have only touched the massive MIMO and millimeter wave part. So what can be done in the massive MIMO and what can be done in the millimeter wave? Basically, beamforming is complete the part of massive MIMO. So that I think we are going to hear the talk on it in the future session where they are going to talk about the beamforming by using the massive MIMO.
Okay, there are some more questions are there. I am taking one or two more. In a day life, we are feeling current by touching things like blankets, sofa covers, and even by touching other persons also. Is it true because of 5G technology introduction in India, which affects the number of protons?
Okay, that is the another thing, completely different thing. Basically, what happens is the basic concept is the static charge. We all have static charge in us. So when we are touching something, sometimes they are going to discharge that static charge to us. So it is, people are saying that 5G is going to, means there are a lot of strike is going on in the UK also, that 5G is going to deteriorate the health because we are having the very high data rate and the signals are continuously around us we are having, because of which it is going to deteriorate our performance. They are going to design different kind of mat and different kind of cloth for uh, eliminating the microwave around us, because 5G is ultimately the microwave signals which is having around us. So this is a very different thing. However, the static charge will be the basic concept because of which we are feeling the current for a small short duration, very short duration.
Yeah, the same question is again asked by Professor S. Raghavan, that is 5G harmful to health?
Something is harmful or not, that is very difficult to say. However, there are several researchers still working on this field, that whether the availability of this much of electromagnetic wave around us is going to impact our performance or not. However, some of the researchers which are going to deploy the 5G, they are saying that it is not ionic like the microwave devices which is operating at 2.4 gigahertz. Microwave means we are talking about microwave oven here. So microwave oven operating at 2.4 gigahertz, it is having, if, and that power which we are going to use in that microwave device is going to change the DNA of the food which we are going to place inside it. So by changing the DNA of the food, it is making it cooked. So however, they are claiming that the 5G is not going to ionize anything. 5G is not going to change the DNA of human. They are claiming like that when the protest has happened in UK, that they do not want the deployment of 5G in UK because that is going to deteriorate their health. But still, the people are there who are supporting that we should not have the uh, 5G communication systems because it is going to expose to us very high amount of microwave signals around us. And recently in India also, we have seen that people are not allowing to place the microwave, or sorry, the mobile tower on their on the roof of their house, because those mobile towers are still radiating very high amount of microwave signals, because of which it can create a cancer and different other carcinogenic effect in the human body. But the Telecommunication Authority of India or different telecommunication organizations are saying that these microwaves are not harmful because they have tested it, they have looked for its SAR, that is the surface absorption rate, how much impact it is going to have in our system, our body as a human. So that testing they have done. So if something is done within the limit, it cannot impact the health of the human being.
Okay, the last question I'm taking, that is for 8 cross 8 array antenna, how the measurement take place for S1112, similar to up to 18 or 88, or at the time only two ports connected with the VNA. If it
Okay.
is like that, then how can we ignore other ports? If we are applying all the 8 ports with VNA, then in case of SMN, results will be changed. Or is it okay to measure with the two results at a single time?
See, when it is a very basic concept, when we are having like n ports, n ports when we are having, and we are measuring the first port's performance. At that time, we have to connect that port to the VNA, and rest of the port needs to be terminated with a 50 ohm impedance. That is the basic rule of thumb. It is not about antenna, or not specifically for antenna, but any other device, whether we are having the 3-port terminal circulator, or we are having the filter, or we are having the directional coupler, 4-port directional coupler. Whenever we are measuring a single port performance, at that time we have to terminate all the other ports. And if we are measuring S21, then we have to connect two ports at the same time to the VNA's two port of our circuit to the VNA's two port, and rest of the remaining ports needs to be terminated with 50 ohm impedance. That is the basic guideline of measuring the multi-port systems. it is valid for all the systems, whether it is antenna or not.
Okay, and one last question. Planar monopole antenna using fractal slot with MGS circularly polarized radiation will improve beamforming and how?
Sir, can you please repeat it
Yes,
again?
sir. Planar monopole antenna using fractal slot with MGS circularly polarized radiation will improve beamforming and how?
Improving beamforming. Yes, okay. So here we are using the polarization concept of polarization also. So when we are having circularly polarized antenna, so we are having the left hand circularly polarized and right hand circularly polarized polarization. So because of that polarization, we can place antenna close to each other because we are going to have the polarization diversity in that case. So by placing the antennas close to each other, we can fit more number of antennas in a compact space. So if we are going to fit more number of antennas in the compact space and we are going to make an array of those, so it is going to provide more gain as compared to the when we are having the normal antenna instead of circularly polarized antenna. So we have to place it little bit far apart in the same size of substrate, because of which the gain of that antenna is going to get reduced as compared to the circularly polarized antenna placed on the same surface, because number of antenna can increase because of the diversity performance.
Okay, thank you. I have taken most of the questions from the participants. And on behalf of IEEE Rajasthan subsection Delhi section APS Society chapter Jaipur and IEEE Young Professional Affinity Group Bangalore section, I thank all the participants. I thank the speaker for giving such a vibrant talk and cleared all the doubts of the participants. Thank you, Deepika ma'am, for sparing your time.